We'll begin by coming down into constructive rest pose, lying on the back with the knees bent, feet in line with the sit bones, arms far enough from the center line of the body that when you turn your palms up, you get a nice opening in the chest. Once you've established the posture, release into it. Not much effort is required to maintain this position, so please release as much as you can. Let your body drop down into the floor. Let your bones settle. Let the muscles that hold the bones up relax. Sink into the pull of gravity. Be aware of your spine. We're going to talk about the various ways that you can move the spine. There are several directions that the spine can go. So we're going to notice where we're beginning here in our neutral spine. Feel the space behind the pelvis, the sacrum, where your lowest vertebrae are in contact with the mat. And then if you move up the spine a little bit, you're going to find your lumbar curve. A little bit of space between the back and the mat. And then continue up the spine. You'll feel as you bring your attention up the spine, places where there's more contact with the floor and less, or even no contact with the floor, up the length of the spine. Feel all the way up to the neck, and then notice the back of the head dropping down into the floor. This is neutral spine. And we'll warm up by stabilizing in the neutral spine position. Bringing the attention to the pelvic floor muscles. Feel where your tailbone is, each one of your sit bones, the pubic bone. Connect those 4 points in your mind's eye. And as you inhale, picture that diamond. And then as you exhale, draw the diamond shape in towards the center. Feel the sphincters beginning to engage and the perineum drawing up towards the crown of the head. And then release that and relax. There's no change in the position of the pelvis or the spine as we do that. And we'll bring the attention up to the transversus abdominis, big broad belt of muscle. We're going to think of it supporting the lower back and hips. Inhale. And with the exhale, draw that big broad belt snug. It's horizontal fibers that come around and stabilize the neutral pelvis, neutral spine relationship. And relax and release that. And return your attention to the pelvic floor. And with the exhale, gather the pelvic floor in. And relax and release. Bring the attention to the transversus belt. And exhale, snug around the lower back, the hips, the low belly. And soften. One more time. Attention to the pelvic floor. Draw that diamond shape in towards its center, shrinking the diamond towards the perineum. And then relax, release. Picture the belt. And with the exhale, gather the belt around your waist. And then release and relax. So let's put the two together, maintaining a neutral spine. We'll go into the arm lifts, supporting with the combination of the pelvic floor and the transversus, the inner core muscles. With inhale, we'll take the arms straight up to the ceiling. Exhale, engage the inner core and stabilize the pelvis and spine as you reach your arms back towards the floor behind you. And then inhale, bring the arms up towards the ceiling. And exhale, release the arms down to the side, observing the lower back and the pelvis. They're staying still throughout. Again, inhale, float the arms up. And exhale, engage the inner core, reach back, stable neutral spine. Inhale, arms float up. And exhale, release the arms back down to the sides. And one more time, inhale, float the arms up. And stabilize with the exhale, reach back. Inhale, bring the arms to vertical. And then relax the arms down to the side. And release into gravity. Soften. So far we've maintained the neutral spine position. Haven't made any spinal movements yet. We're going to warm up the obliques. Bring your hands behind your head. And with your inhale, feel your ribs flare. You may also feel that your upper back, mid-upper back is a little bit pulled away from the mat. So we're getting a little bit of thoracic extension just by bringing the arms behind, the hands behind the head. So with the inhale, feel that flaring of the ribs. And as you exhale, unflare the front ribs. Feel the front ribs join together. And working on a diagonal down towards the opposite back pockets. And then relax and release. Now we're going to imprint the back ribs. Exhale, reach the back ribs down into the mat. And now we're back to the neutral spine. And inhale, relax and release. Let the ribs flare. And exhale, unflare the front ribs. Reach each set of ribs down towards the opposite back pocket. And inhale, let the ribs flare. And exhale, imprint the back ribs. And observe the neutral spine. One more time, inhale, let the front ribs flare. Back ribs are going to pull away from the mat a little bit. Exhale, unflare the front ribs. And inhale, let them flare out again. Then exhale, imprint the back ribs, returning to your neutral spine. Add your front ribs. You're going to knit the front ribs together. Take an inhale here. Exhale, add your inner core, and then we're going to take a little head lift, maintaining a neutral lower back. Upper back's going into a little bit of flexion and lower down. But we're maintaining the lower back curve, keeping it neutral. Exhale to lift the head without flattening the lower back, keeping the pelvis still. Inhale to come back down. And one more time, exhale to lift. Now we're going to work with the first movement of the spine, which is going to be a side bend. We'll keep the head lifted and move into the crazy fish exercise. So with the exhale, let's bend at the side. Bring the left elbow to the left waist. And inhale, return into the center. And exhale, side bend. Bring the right elbow towards the right hip. And inhale back to center. This is called lateral flexion. Exhale, side bend left. And inhale back to the center. Exhale, side bend to the right. And inhale to the center. One more time each way. Side bending, lateral flexion. Inhale, center. We're warming up the obliques here. Exhale to the right. Inhale to the center. And release back down. We're going to keep the hands behind the head for a moment and just let everything relax. So that's one of the movements the spine can do, lateral flexion, and then we're going to do a rotation. We'll engage our inner core, knit and imprint the ribs and lift the head. Here's our neutral lower back. And then this time on the exhale, I want you to reach your right armpit towards your left knee. You're actually going to turn the upper torso. Inhale, come back to the center, and exhale, rotate the other way. Left armpit to right knee. Inhale back into the center. Exhale, rotating the spine, right armpit towards the left knee. Inhale to the center and exhale. Left armpit to the right knee. Inhale, center one more time each direction. Exhale, right armpit to left knee. Inhale, center. Exhale, left armpit to right knee. Inhale, center. And then release your head down. Keep your arms straight up towards the ceiling. Relax your shoulders. We're returning to a neutral spine. And then we're going to do the next series. This is a kind of a microcosm in the cervical spine of the various possibilities for spinal movement. So we'll start with spinal flexion, which basically means flattening the spine down to the mat. But I don't want you to push, just to draw your chin down towards the notch of the neck. And feel how that gets you long in the back of the neck. That's called cervical flexion. We're going to keep the chin down to the notch of the neck and gently press the head down into the floor. And then unweight the head just a tiny bit, keeping that length at the back of the neck. And then lower the head and gently press. And lift the head. Keep the chin tucked, back of the neck long, lower and gently press. Shoulders stay relaxed. Keep the length at the back of the neck as you unweight the head and lower down. One more time, make sure the chin is staying tucked. Lift, tiny bit, and then lower, gently press, and relax. Going to neutral spine, soften the shoulders. So just as we did in the crazy fish and the spinal rotation, we're going to now go side bending, bring the left ear to the left shoulder, side bending. The nose is still pointing straight up towards the ceiling, and then we gently press the back of the head down, and then lift the head just a tiny bit up off of the mat, and gently press down, and take a little tiny lift, nose going towards the ceiling, and lower and press. So you're finding length in the right side, little lift, and lower, and one more time, tiny little lift, and lower and press. And then bring your head into the center, relax, soften your shoulders. And we'll side bend the other way, bringing the right ear down towards the right shoulder. Be sure that you haven't turned your head, because we're not doing rotation, we're doing lateral flexion. Back of the head's on the mat, nose is pointing straight up. Shoulders relaxed, and gently press the middle of the back of the head right down into the mat, and then unweight. Lift the head a tiny bit towards the ceiling, and lower and press. Your nose should be pointing straight up. And a little bit of a lift, and lower and press. And unweight the head, and lower and press. One more time. And return to the center. Relax the necks, relax the shoulders. So we've done flexion, lateral flexion, and now we're going to do rotation. Turn your head and look out over your left shoulder. And then gently press, and then unweight. And gently press. The left ear is pressing down towards the mat. Unweight, the right ear is lifting slightly towards the ceiling. Lower and press, and unweight, and lower and press, and unweight. Finish with a little press down, and bring the head back into the center. Soften the shoulders, relax the neck. And then let's rotate the other way. Turn and look out over your right shoulder. And we gently press, bringing the right ear down towards the mat. And then unweight, left ear straight towards the ceiling. Lower and press, and unweight. And lower and press. Unweight, keeping the rotation. One more time, press gently. And lift. And then finish with your press. And unweight, head into the center. Relax for a moment there. So we haven't done or any spinal extension yet, which is what we're doing now, which is arching the spine. So I want you to tilt the head back so the chin is looking straight up towards the ceiling. And then gently press the back of the head into the mat. And then unweight, little tiny lift, chin going straight up to the ceiling. And lower and press. And unweight, chin straight up. And lower and press. And unweight the head. And last time, lower and press. Unweight. And finish with a press. Then relax back into neutral. Soften your shoulders. Bring the hands behind the head again. Notice as you take the hands behind the head that you've got that little spinal extension in the upper back, mid back. We're going to engage the inner core, knit and imprint so that our neutral spine's in place, and then lift the head. We're going to keep the head lifted, neutral lower back, and then raise the right foot up. Steady in the pelvis. Flex your foot, extend your leg out, reaching through the heel. Inhale, bend your knee, and exhale, lower your foot down to the floor. Keep the pelvis still, and then inhale, lift the left foot up. Exhale, flex, extend, reach the heel out across the room. Inhale, bend the knee and re-anchor. Lower the foot back down. Stable pelvis, right side up. and exhale, flex, extend. Inhale, bend the knee, and anchor as you lower down. Inhale to lift the left side, exhale, flex, extend. Inhale and bend, stay anchored, stay steady in the pelvis. We'll do one more set. Inhale, lift the right leg, exhale, flex, extend, and inhale, bend the knee, re-anchor, lower the foot down, and take the left side up. Exhale, flex, extend, inhale, bend the knee and re-anchor as you exhale to lower, and then lower your head down. Float the arms up towards the ceiling, relax the neck and shoulders and make some small circles with your arms. Feeling the humeral heads go deeply down into the socket and reverse your circles. I'm going to bring the arms into a cactus position. So you're bending your arms at a right angle with the backs of the arms and hands down onto the floor. Depending on your body, this may give you a bit of upper back extension again. That's fine. We're going to engage the inner core, knit and imprint the ribs, and then take the right foot up. Keep it up, maintain your imprinted ribs, and lift your left foot up. Now keep those back ribs imprinting, so we don't want to have the spine arching. We just want the neutral lower back, and we'll go to pistons. Exhale, lower the right foot down, making sure you maintain your neutral spine. Inhale to lift, exhale, take the left foot down, and inhale, lift. I'm going to keep imprinting the back ribs, maintaining the neutral spine. Exhale down, inhale up. Exhale to lower, and inhale to lift. Again, keep the back ribs imprinting so you maintain your neutral spine. Inhale to lift, exhale, lower, and inhale, lift one more time with each leg. Now keep your arms as they are and draw your knees in close to the chest. So this is the first time we're getting lumbar flexion. We're flattening the lower back down, and we're adding to that cervical flexion. So we have the spine flattening down into the mat. We're going to keep the arms in the cactus, keep imprinting the back ribs, and then draw a circle. We want to keep the back ribs down, but draw a circle so your knees are going to go over to the side. A rotation in the lower spine and pelvis. Draw a circle, keep the knees together, roll around, and you're going to come back into that lumbar flexion with your knees in close to the chest. Make sure your chin is down, and then reverse the circle. Keep the knees together and draw a circle the other way. So you can find as much rotation below the waist as you like, but keep the ribs down on the mat. And then we'll reverse again. Each time we finish the circle, we're going to return to that lumbar flexion, really drawing the knees in close to the chest, and reverse and go the other way, keeping the cactus position. If it's bothersome for your shoulders, you can just take the arms straight up. Let's go one more time each direction. Keep the back ribs down, circle around, pull into lumbar flexion, knees in close to the chest, and then reverse and go the other way. And then relax. We're going to come to a neutral tabletop and bring the arms down to the sides, preparing for the 100. So we want to have neutral spine here. Engage inner core. Knit and imprint the ribs. Press the palms down firmly. Feel your triceps activate. Lift your head and then extend your legs. Let's take an external rotation of the legs and exhale for 5 pulses of the arms. And then inhale for 5 pulses. Exhale for 5. And inhale, keep your neutral spine. Exhale, inhale, and exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. And inhale, just one more set. Maintain your neutral lower back, chin into the chest. And then we'll bring the knees into the chest, lower the head down, slowly turn your head from one side to the other, move nice and slowly. And then recenter the head And circle the knees out wide, relaxing the inner thighs, the front thighs. Stir your thigh bones around the sockets. And reverse. And bring the knees in close. And we're going to take a spinal twist. Again, feeling rotation. Relax the right arm out to the side and use your left hand on your right knee to slowly bring your knees over towards the floor on the left. Noticing that rotation in the lower spine. And then turn and look to the right and you have a spiral of rotation all the way up and down the spine. Take your breath into that rolling rotation of the spine. Feeling the openness in the chest. A gentle squeeze in the belly, getting a gentle stretch in the lower back, the right hip, and then turn the head into the center, and then bring the knees back into the center. Let your arms go down to your sides and gently draw the knees in close to the chest without using your arms. Again, feel that lumbar flexion, and now you're using your abdominal muscles to get there. And we'll take the right hand up to the left knee and rock the knees over to the right side. Feeling that rotation in the lower spine. And then add your head turn, rotating the neck so you have a good long spiral up and down the whole spine. Relax the left shoulder. Breathe slowly. Feel the twist. And then turn the head to the center, and then bring the knees back into the center. Soften the neck and shoulders. Then we'll bring the hands to the right knee and straighten the left leg out onto the mat. And bring the right knee right into the breastbone. Again, we're increasing our lumbar flexion, flattening the lower spine. And then as you release your knee out a little farther away from your chest, observe how the neutral spine comes back. Get a little space behind the lumbar spine. Engage your inner core. Knit and imprint your ribs and straighten your right leg up to the ceiling. Hold the back of your leg and flex your foot back and then point the toes. And flex the foot back and point the toes. Flex the foot back and point the toes. Now keep pointing the toes and pull your kneecap towards your hip socket. Re-engage all your core muscles, relax your arms, and circle the right leg around 5 times, making sure your pelvis is staying steady as you do the circles. So keep the circles small and slow. Right leg nice and straight, pelvis stabilized, and reverse the circles. Check out your left back ribs and your left hip. Make sure that they're staying down in their neutral position. Now we're going to keep the right leg straight and lower all the way to the floor, trying not to let the back arch away from the mat any farther than the neutral position. So you're going to engage around your neutral, keep your ribs imprinted. Once your foot is down, then relax. Then you're going to feel a little bit of lumbar extension for the first time today. And then let's bring the left knee into the chest and draw the knee towards the breastbone, returning to that flexion in the lower back, stretching the lower back. Then release the stretch a bit until you feel your neutral spine, tailbone down. And we're going to straighten the left leg up to the ceiling, support the back of the leg, find your core support, and point the toes, and flex the foot back. And point, and flex. Point, and flex, and then point. Maintain that point. Draw your left kneecap towards your left hip, engage your core, and circle the left leg. Slow, small circles. Pelvis is steady. Spine is neutral. There's a little bit of lumbar curve. It's not flat, nor is it arched beyond neutral. 5 times one way, and reverse. Circle the other direction. And then when we're finished with the second direction, we'll lower the legs straight down. Keep your neutral spine. Keep engaging your belt, keeping your ribs knitting and imprinting until your leg is all the way down to the floor. And then relax it. As you relax it, feel how your space behind the lumbar increases. Now we're going to increase it even more by stretching the arms up and back. So this is spinal extension when you have an arch in the spine. Feel that big long stretch and notice that arc spine. Now let's bring it back down to neutral. Now don't go all the way to flat back, but just come to neutral. And we're going to side bend again. Walk the feet slightly to the left. Tilt the upper body slightly to the left. Keep your back ribs down on the mat and take your right foot over your left. Grab a hold of your right wrist and breathe into the stretch of the right side. Now we have lateral flexion, stretching the right side, side bending the spine. Big long breaths to accentuate that effect, but do keep your hips and your ribs down. Try not to add any rotation. If you start rotating, your right ribs or right hip may come away from the mat. Then come to the center and stretch long. You can go into that lumbar extension, feeling the spine arch again. And then draw it back to neutral. Again, not all the way to flat back, but just to a neutral spine. It will require you to imprint your back ribs. Walk the feet a little to the right and tilt the upper body to the right. Keep your left hip and left ribs down as you take your left ankle over the right and grab a hold of your left wrist. And feel the side bend on the left side. Try to keep it as pure lateral flexion as you can by keeping your left hip down and your left back ribs down. And then return to the center and go ahead and take that long arch again. And then float the arms to the ceiling. Keep the arms up and vertical as you bend the knees, returning to the bent knee position. Constructive rest with the arms lifted up and shoulders relaxed. Just pause for a moment there. And then release the arms down to your sides. Okay, we'll work with a pelvic lift and a pelvic spinal curl. We're going to hinge and curl up into the pelvic lift to feel the difference. So if you have something behind your head, take that out now. We're first going to work with the neutral spine. So you've got a certain amount of curve in your lower back right now. I want you to engage your inner core and wrap your ribs around and feel that you're maintaining this relationship between your hips, your ribs, your spine. And exhale, with that relationship maintained, push into your feet and raise your hips up. There shouldn't be any sense of curling through the lower spine. And then we'll hinge back down. Moving in your hip crease, drop the pelvis back down onto the mat. And again, let's hinge up. Feeling that length across the front thigh, but not tucking the tail between the legs. There's still a curve in your lower back. And as you hinge back down, that lumbar curve is going to be maintained. Do it one more time. Push up. And hinge back down. Now, we're going to now curl the spine, going through lumbar flexion. Engage the inner core, tilt the pelvis, lower back is flat, then push into the floor with the feet, roll up through the spine. Lengthen the back of the neck so you've got nice cervical flexion as well. And keep the back of the neck long. Chin down towards the chest as you roll down one vertebra at a time. Going through the lower spine, going to a flat back, feeling that lumbar flexion, flat back, and then release to neutral. We'll do it again. Prepare the inner core, then tilt the pelvis. Ribs knitting, imprinting. Press the hips up towards the ceiling, rolling through the spine. We're going to keep the sense of the tail tucking between the legs, even when you're lifted here. Lengthen the back of the neck and roll down. The whole spine in flexion. One vertebra at a time. Chin stays down to the chest, belly stays to the spine, flat back, and then release into neutral. One more time. Inner core. Tilt the pelvis, knit and imprint, and roll up one vertebra at a time. Keep tucking your tail between your legs and lengthening the back of the neck, and roll yourself back down. Keep your back flat and straighten one leg out, and continue to flatten the back and keep the straighten the other leg out, lower back is flat. And then relax. Okay, let's work on the roll-ups. This is spinal flexion as we roll ourselves up, but we're not overemphasizing the upper back flexion, rounding. We want to emphasize the lower back flexion, the sense of the belly drawing into the spine. So we inhale, take the arms up to the ceiling. Draw the belly into the spine and reach your arms back behind you. Flatten your whole spine down towards the floor as best as you can. This is spinal flexion. And we're going to inhale to roll up. Flip the arms. Scoop the belly and roll through the spine. And we're going to find one more spinal position. We're going to come up tall. Reach down through the sit bones. If you need to, you can bend your knees. This is called axial extension. We're reaching down through the sit bones, feeling the tailbone like a plumb line down to the floor. At the same time, the crown of the head's up towards the ceiling. So we're getting very tall, extending through the central axis. Then scoop the belly in, relax the shoulders, and tilt forward. Nice and easy. Emphasizing the lumbar flexion, the cervical flexion, but keeping the chest open. So not too much rounding in the upper back. And then let's come up tall into spinal extension, reaching the sit bones down, the crown up, float the arms out in front of you, soften your shoulders, and then let's flex the spine. Scoop the belly and roll down, one vertebra at a time, drawing the belly button into the spine, keeping the shoulders relaxed. So you can keep your flat back until your head is all the way down. And once your head's down and your arms are back, then relax. You can go into that little bit of arch in the spine. Let's do it again. Engage the inner core, tilt the pelvis, scoop the belly, knit and imprint. Get the spine flexing towards the floor. Inhale the arms up, and we'll inhale to roll up. And then sit tall at the top, reaching the sit bones down, the crown of the head, not the chin, please, but the crown of the head up towards the ceiling. And then draw the belly into the spine and move into the stretch. Lumbar flexion. Feel that? Cervical flexion. Feel the stretch at the back of the neck. Reach the breastbone forward. And then sit tall again, arms out in front of you. Re-engage the low core, scoop the belly, soften your shoulders as you roll yourself down, flexing the spine all the way down at each vertebral segment as well as you can. And keeping the back flat all the way down. Keep drawing the belly into the spine. Flatten the spine until your arms are all the way back. And then relax that. One more time. Inner core. Tilt the pelvis, scoop the belly, knit and imprint, and then float the arms up and inhale to come up. And then tall, lumbar extension. Reach down through the sit bones and up through the crown. Then draw the belly towards the spine and take your forward bend. Without stretching your shoulders forward, because that's going to give you extra pull in your upper back. We want ease in the upper back, gentle stretch in the lower back, gentle lengthening in the back of the spine. And then sit tall, axial extension, reaching through the crown, and scoop the belly, roll down. Good, keeping the spine flexing into the mat the whole way down. And then relax it. Arms up towards the ceiling. And let's bring the knees into the chest. Give them a hug and rock a little side to side. Now we're going to turn over onto the stomach and work on a little bit more extension. Let's place the hands under the forehead, legs comfortably separated. So already you may feel a little compression in the lower back. Engage your inner core, draw your ribs together, and see if you can do this next bit without increasing the amount of compression you feel in your lower back. Press down into the forearms and raise your chest and head up. Let's see if we can get the sensation into the upper back, so it's not a deep back bend. Draw your breastbone forward. We don't want too much compression in the lower back. And then lower down. That's spinal extension. And release. Re-engage the inner core, knit the ribs. Keep your elbows down. Gently press the forearms and raise your chest and your head. Okay, now we're going to add a little bit of cervical extension. You have to be refined about this because if you tilt your head too much, you're just compressing the back of the neck. But if you feel your breastbone move forward and then gently open the front of the throat, then you can have extension through the whole spine without creating too much compression in the lower back or the back of the neck. And then release the head back down and soften. One more time, set the inner core, knit the ribs, press down into the forearms. First, concentrate on drawing your sternum up away from your navel. And then you can gently open the chin a little bit forward so there's a gentle arc through the whole spine. And then release the forehead back down to the hands and relax. And we'll come up to all fours. We're going to alternate spinal extension and spinal flexion. And this little exercise is such a great way to warm up your spine because it gently moves you into those two activities. By the way, that is our most primal activity. You know, we start curled into this position in utero, and then the first movement we do is this arcing back. So rounding and opening is the first movement that the spine does, and we're going to mimic that right now. So we don't want any collapsing as we arch. We don't want to collapse the back of the neck or the lower back, and not too much overstretch in the upper back when we round. With the inhale, draw the chest gently forward. Feel that arcing of the upper back and the opening of the chest. And then exhale, tuck your tail under, bend your arms so your head's dropping down. Bring your hips back to your heels and feel the emphasis of the stretch in the lower back and the back of the neck. Inhale, move up to all fours. Spinal extension, and let's accentuate the thoracic extension here. And then tuck your tail, bring the hips back to your heels. If you bend the elbows, it'll soften your shoulders and you can concentrate on the lumbar and cervical rounding or flexion. One more time. Come forward. Inhale into extension. Emphasize the upper back, the thoracic extension. And then bring your hips back to your heels. Tuck the tail and bend the elbows so you can emphasize lumbar and cervical flexion. And then let's turn to lie on the left side. We're going to come out fully lying on the side, relaxing the neck and shoulders. Now, if we relax into gravity here, there's a little bit of passive side bend, a little bit of passive flexion, lateral flexion of the spine. So we're going to engage our inner core and then do an organ lift and recenter the neutral spine. We'll keep the inner core and the organ lift going as we raise both legs up and lift and lower the top leg 5 times. And then bottom leg up and down 5 times. So we want to keep our organ lift lifting so we don't have any sagging of the spine. Squeeze the inner thighs together. Let's go forward and back 5 times, maintaining the neutral relationship between the hips, the ribs, keeping the lumbar spine neutral. And then circle the top leg. Lumbar spine is neutral, not extended. And reverse. And bring the feet together and flex them back. Then squeeze the toes and point. Fan the toes and flex back. Squeeze, point, fan, flex, squeeze, point, fan, and flex. Reverse it with the toes open. Reach out, squeeze, and pull back. Open, reach, squeeze, and pull back. One more time. And release back down. Now let's bend the knees to 45-degree hip flexion so that the knees are at the front of the mat. The feet are underneath you. You're going to tilt your right hip a little forward so that the knees are right lined up. You can even have your right knee a little farther forward than the bottom one. Relax in the belly and engage around your pelvis. And then stabilize the pelvis. Let's roll the right leg out in the socket. We're going to do it 15 times, so 3 sets of 5, keeping the right hip forward. Keeping your transversus belt snug around the pelvis. Feeling that external rotation, working the muscles in the right buttock. And relax. Let's just work with the arm a little bit. Bring your right elbow to rest on your right waist. Make a gentle fist with your right hand. And then roll the right arm out in the socket. Keep the elbow nice and snug to the side. We're going to do 15 here as well. More emphasis on the lift, or more emphasis on the distance above the waist than below. You can go a tiny bit below, but really we're working from the waist up. We do want to pay attention to the smoothness of the movement as the hand comes back down to its start position. When you're done, let's displace the left knee a little closer to the head. Use your right fingertips. Come up into a seated position. We have the mermaid legs in place here. We're going to take the right fingertips onto the floor and see if you can find some axial extension. Lengthen from the crown down to the sit bones. Even though your right sit bone's up off the mat, drop your tailbone down into the center. Then let's take the right hand onto the right foot and then stretch the left arm up over the side. Lateral flexion, side bending, and then come up tall. And we'll bring the left elbow down to the mat and stretch the right arm up overhead. Reach the right sit bone to the floor and really lengthen the right side. Nice big side bend for the right side. And come back up. Right hand to the right foot and stretch the left arm up. And stretch your left side. And lengthen. Get fully extended in the center. Then left elbow down. And reach the right arm over the ear. Drop your right sit bone down into the floor. Towards the floor, I should say. It's not going to be touching. And come up. Once again, right hand on the right foot. Lengthen the spine and then bend to the right side. And sit tall. Left elbow comes down and lengthen the right side, dropping that right sit bone down. And then sit tall. So that's lateral flexion, side bending. Now let's twist. Feel your pelvis and then turn your spine. Turn as much of your spine as far over to the left as you can. Rotating the spine. Right hand can rest on the left knee. Left fingertips on the floor behind you. Sit tall so you have the axial extension up the middle of this rotation. Now keep rotating the lower spine, and just in the neck, rotate the other direction and look to the right side. And then bring the head to the center and the shoulders back into the center. And we're going to sit with the feet on the floor, the hands behind us. Engage your inner core, knit your ribs around, and let's lift up into an upward tabletop. We want to have our neutral spine, a little bit of cervical flexion so you can keep your chin into your chest. Lengthen up the front of the body, just working with the shoulders, the backs of the arms a little bit, and lower down with the hips. And take your legs out in front of you, sit tall. Scoop the belly in and roll yourself one vertebra at a time back down onto the mat. And reach long and stretch. And then we're going to turn to the right side. Feet slightly forward of the hips. Left hip a little forward. Feel yourself relaxing down into the mat at first. Engage your inner core. And then take your organ lift. Recenter your organs. Support the spine. Lift both legs up. Lift the top leg up and down 5 times. Bottom leg down and up 5 times. Squeeze them together. Now I want you to feel your lower back. As we do the forward and back with the legs, scissoring the legs, we want to keep our lumbar spine in place. So we're not compressing the lower back. And return to the center. Squeeze the inner core. Make sure you still have your organ lift. We'll circle the top leg 5 times each direction, keeping the pelvis still, the ribs and pelvis in a steady relationship. 5 times one way, then reverse. 5 times the other. And squeeze the inner thighs together, then flex the feet back. Squeeze the toes and point the feet. Fan the toes and flex the feet back. Squeeze, point, fan, and flex. Squeeze, point, fan, and flex. Keep your toes open and reach. Squeeze and pull back. Open the toes, reach. Squeeze and pull back one more time. And then lower the legs down. Relax everything for a moment. Then we'll take the knees bent at 45-degree hip flexion. Roll the top hip forward. Make sure that the left knee is right on top of the right, or maybe even a little forward of it. We relax at the waist. Engage the inner core. Keep the pelvis still and that left hip forward as we do 3 sets of 5, rolling the left leg out in the socket, steadying the pelvis. Want to do the work with the left buttock? Try not to do it with the right outer thigh and right buttock. If you feel a lot of clenching in the right side, try more core and a slower motion. See if you can find the power in the left buttock muscles. When you're done, we'll relax and bring the left elbow to the left waist. And 3 sets of 5 external rotation here with the left arm. Elbow stays snug to the side. And then relax the arm. And we'll just place the right knee a little closer to the head. You use the left fingertips to push yourself up, sitting in the mermaid sit. Now we're not even on the sit bones, but nonetheless, let's try to find axial extension. Crown of the head up, tailbone dropping down. Left hand on the left foot, stretch up with the right arm. Extend up tall through the chest and then bend to your left side. And then right forearm goes down to the floor. Stretch your left arm up and over. Drop your left hip down in the direction of the mat. So do a big, long side bend. And come up. Left hand to left foot. And side bend towards the left. And lower the hand, elbow down. Right hand, elbow down. And then stretch up and over with the left arm. Reach your left hip down. Extend long through that whole left side. And sit tall. One more time. Side bend. And right arm down. Axial extension in the center. And then to the side. Reach long. And sit tall. Axial extension without actually getting your left sit bone down. Drop it down, sit tall, and then we're going to rotate around and turn the spine as far to the right as possible. Imagine each segment of the spine turning independently from the one next to it. You're looking far over your right shoulder. Feel how the breastbone is turning to the right, and then maintain that turn of the breastbone, reverse the turn of the head. And release into the center. And again, we'll sit back with the feet on the floor, the hands on the floor behind you. Engage your inner core, knit your ribs around and lift up into that upward tabletop again. Keep your chin tucked. And then lower your hips down. Send the legs out straight, arms out in front of you, axial extension, and then scoop the belly. Roll down, flexing through each vertebrae independently, one at a time. Rolling all the way down. Flatten your spine down. And then relax. And we're going to turn over onto the stomach. And bring the hands down to the sides. Forehead on the floor, or cheek, I guess. If it's more comfortable, you can rotate the head. If you can have the forehead comfortably on the floor, do that. Arms at the sides with the palms up. Now we're going to get a little bit more spinal extension than we did because we're going to lift the legs as well here. And find inner core, knit the ribs, and then lift everything up, head, arms, chest, legs, and feel the lower back muscles working. Feel the whole spine arcing again. You can gently open the front of the throat without crunching the back of the neck. So you have nice long extension through the whole spine, and then lower down. And again, engage first, and then lift. Supporting that extended spine with the nice strong abdominals. Keep your ribs knitting together in the front. And lower and release. One more time. Establish your core support first, ribs together, and lift. And then release. Okay, we'll go to child's pose. So you're going to feel, you just did that lumbar extension. The spine, the muscles around the spine are asking for the flexion that the child's pose gives. That's why it feels so good, stretching the muscles that were just engaged. And then let's lift up onto all fours. A little bit more for our shoulder girdle here. Engage the inner core without going into lumbar flexion, keeping your neutral spine. Tuck your tail, knit your ribs, press your hands into the mat, and we'll hover the knees up. Feel the work around the shoulders, the shoulder blades, the shoulder sockets, and then lower down. Keep your neutral spine. Anchor and press into the floor. Push the floor away and lift the knees. Just a little bit, about an inch. And lower down. And once more. And lower down. I'm going to do, we're going to go to downward facing dog because it's an excellent example of axial extension. So let's find all the core support and then push the floor away. Start to lift your hips up, but keep your knees bent at first. And just see how far you can get your tailbone away from your hands. This is the sense of axial extension. Now, if you can keep the spine in this axial extension, then you can add the straightening of the legs. If you notice when you straighten your legs that your spine rounds, then keep the knees bent. I want you to feel like there's a good, long, active relationship between the crown of the head and the tailbone, lengthening. And then bring your knees down to the floor. And we'll go back into child's pose. And then we're going to come up into a low plank. So I'd like you to bring your elbows under your shoulders, interlace the fingers, tuck that bottom pinky into your hand. Engage your core, knit your ribs, straighten one leg out, and then the other. And feel the axial extension here. The crown of your head's moving forward, your tailbone's reaching behind you, pushing down into the forearms, so you're very long. There's no collapsing in any part of the spine. You can really use your core muscles, pressing down into the floor, using support around the shoulder girdle. The spine should feel just fine because there's no sinking or collapsing. Draw the belly button in towards the spine. Keep that feeling of the crown and the tail moving away from each other. That's axial extension again. Then we're going to bring the knees to the floor. Go back to child's pose. Feel that spinal flexion stretching through the whole spine. Move up onto all fours in your neutral. We're going to downward facing dog again. Engage the core. Keep your knees bent as you initially push the floor away. Raise your hips. Get the axial extension established. If you can go to straight legs without disturbing that, then do. But if your back rounds at all, keep the knees bent. Now knit your ribs together in the front and start walking your hands in towards your feet until you're in a forward bend. This is spinal flexion as well. Now keep your chin down, and we're going to go to spinal extension by pulling the chest away from the belly. You can push your hands against your legs and flatten the spine out, but do keep your chin down, please. And then just slide your hands up your legs. When you come fully upright, you're already in your standing position. You're not having to uncurl. Lift tall. Look down at your feet, make sure that they're aligned. Feel yourself standing on the ball of the big toe, the ball of the little toe, the center of the heel. See if you can find that sense of axial extension. Tailbone dropping down, crown of the head lifting, and then roll the arms out in the sockets. Feel the breastbone lift and open. Squeeze the shoulder blades together gently, and then relax. And again, we'll roll the arms out in the sockets. Gently squeeze the shoulder blades, and relax. And one more time. And then relax. All right, there you go. So now you're standing in a good, tall, neutral supported spine. So this is the class for this week. I will not be live tomorrow. Thanks for tuning in. And it's actually going to be the same situation next week. The class will be on Friday morning instead of Saturday. If you're tuning in on Saturday or some other time, I would be grateful if you let me know you took the class. You can sign in or send me a text or an email. And take care, everybody. Thanks. Tracy, have a good day, everybody. Bye.